to move into an area where human side meets the technology, and I'm actually very excited to invite our next presenter, AJ West, who's going to talk to us about one of the hottest areas in social media technologies. It's the wearable devices. So please.
Thanks a lot. Okay, I just gotta grab my presentation here really quick. Do we have a browser?
Yeah.
Awesome.
AJ, so I don't have to click anything? It's just going to start on its own?
It's already done.
Go computers.
All right, thanks everybody. So, yeah, I'm AJ West. I am a student here at McGill in my last semester at the School of Information Studies. Okay, so I'm really excited because we're actually live streaming this to the world. So welcome everybody here and welcome everybody online. So I just kind of want to preface this talk with the idea of, wearable technology. Everybody in this room is wearing, wearable technology in the form of clothing. I think a lot of the time in information studies in particular, we're thinking about, technology as being like a digital, information-based thing. But in reality, the dyes in my clothes are all technology. Fabrics that breathe, polar fleece, shoes that have, better support, all of these things should also be considered technology. So that's not, in this case, I'm going to focus, of course, on like digital technologies, but I just want to, make sure that we're clear on that. Oh no, we're not going to get to the other way. All right, here we go. Full screen this. Okay, cool. So the first thing that I think of as being, I went to Concordia actually in my undergrad, and I have a lot of friends who are doing lots of things with technology integration into their lives. And Hexagram, if anybody's heard of it, is a research group that's working right now on all sorts of things, video games, etc. And one of their fields, this is Professor Barbie Lane, who's under her direction. These are clothes that actually have screens built in. I'm sure everybody's maybe seen those Tequalizer shirts where you've got, it goes to the beat and you're at a club and that one obnoxious person is there with this really bright shirt on, and it's pretty cool though. And it's it's a wearable piece of technology that maybe doesn't have as much practical purpose as what the headline we're going to talk about is, which is Google Glass. So everybody's already been like, where's Google Glass? Why aren't you wearing it? I'm actually working on a project with somebody in New York, and I sent them there. And also, I just want to sort of focus more conceptually rather than show and tell. But I do have a lot of photos of Google Glass. And what it is you can see there's this little prism that reflects a piece of, it just shines in your eye, and it's not in your face, it's just sort of like up and to the right of your vision, of your field of view. And it just sort of, it has a camera in it, and it allows you to take photos of things, it allows you to share stuff. There's an interface through both voice, through Google Voice's algorithm, and you have like a touch pad on the side that's, once you get used to it, it's actually really cool. So this is the best photo I've taken of somebody wearing Google Glass. As you can see, it's kind of dorky looking in a way. But, you think about it, people on their cell phones 10, 15 years ago, those who had them, were pretty dorky looking too, right? You might have been self-conscious walking down the street in your cell phone, but you're not really going to be self-conscious today with your cell phone. Everybody has them. So I would suspect that this will look less dorky in the near future. So here's what you get when you get Google Glass today as a Google Glass Explorer. I went to a Google Developer Conference in 2012 in San Francisco, and I was offered the privilege of purchasing one for $1,500 American dollars. But you're only allowed to have them in the States, so I had to. Yeah. But anyway, the point being that right now they're in a sort of developer preview state. People, you can get one you can become an Explorer pretty easily if you're an American, but But right now they're still in this exploratory process of creating apps for this device, which of course features like a Wi-Fi connection, so you can connect it. It mainly sort of goes Bluetooth into your phone, and then your phone sort of runs the network connectivity for you. But mainly the idea is that you can sort of look up information really quickly, sort of this whole action that you do where you whip out your phone and you're like, okay, I need to look this thing up really quickly is facilitated by just a quick little like whoop, glance up a little. So here's me wearing Google Glass. You can see that the little prism there is lit up. That's me taking a photo that you're looking at actually with Google Glass. So every time I'm seeing somebody talk about Google Glass, I'm always like, well, what's the interface look like? Like, I want to see what this looks like. So this is just a quick example. This is somebody who's taken a photo of their dog. They've added a little caption to it, and they've shared it on Google Plus or Facebook or whatever. The top left actually is sort of what the you can say, okay, Glass, it sort of shows you the screen. It's not actually even on when you're not using it. It doesn't display at all, and you can just sort of say, okay, Glass, and it pops up at the time, and you can say, any of your regular search, etc. This is just what viewing information sort of looks like in a text form. There's a recent Simpsons episode where they sort of make fun of this. Homer Simpson gets a bunch of glasses with everybody else, and they have this idea that you're appending this real-world metadata into your environment. It's not exactly like that yet. You can't really look at something and have, ooh, this person's so-and-so. I'm sure in the future we'll have facial recognition that works in a way that's like, ooh, I know that this is David, and he does all of these things at McGill. Apparently, there's rumors that Google already has this ability, but they've disabled it because, not disabled it, but they just, we're not there yet in terms of a society to be able to accept this type of information. It seems personal. There's a lot of cultural, sort of social things surrounding that we could talk about in a whole other talk. And of course, this is the idea that, especially recently, that there are companies watching us, there are companies taking our information from us and using it for nefarious purposes. Again, we could have a whole talk on that, but I've only got 10 minutes, so just move on. Okay, so Pebble was one of the first sort of watches that you could wear that connects. This is actually a Kickstarter, and it was very successful. There's been Pebble watches have been iterated. You get the idea. It connects into your phone. You can see your notifications. You can interact with it in certain ways. These, of course, will become more like smaller, more advanced, more stylish. This was actually unique because it's an e-ink display, so it doesn't actually take as much power as like your screen would on your. It just sort of every time the time needs to change it, it takes just a little bit of power to change it, but it's only black and white. But the newer ones, I'm sure, we'll see more and more of these coming out. Everybody's maybe seen these cool little wrist watch attachments for your iPod Nano, and it turns into a watch, and everyone thinks that's super cool because now your iPod Nano is a watch, and there's like an app on it for that. So that's just a really great example, right, of how you can augment something that wasn't necessarily built to be worn, and now people are wearing it. I guess you could think like a flashlight on a keychain is kind of something like that too, right? There's something just simple even that is a technology, but you don't even think about it because it's so useful. Okay, so Oculus Rift. This is not so much wearable, but it definitely ties into, well, I mean, it's wearable in that you wear it, but you're not going to be wearing this around the street. And so what the Oculus Rift is I think it's trying to solve a problem that we have right now in terms of displays. So everybody's getting bigger TVs. We're getting bigger screens. At my workplace, I have 2 screens, and everybody else has 2 screens, and it's more screens, more space, right? I think that's sort of trying to solve this issue that will turn more inward. So right now we're making bigger screens. I think we're going to look and see it. Right here is where the light needs to go, right? We're going to look at better ways of getting light into our eyes. And that doesn't mean we need giant walls of screens. It means we need to figure out ways of getting higher density into your eyes so you have a better field of view so you can get, more immersive experiences. So this is a cool, you should really check this out online after. So this is a cool little conveyor thing that's been combined into the Oculus Rift so that you use for gaming particularly or for other adventure experiences. And so what this person's doing is they're actually running on this pad, and it's sort of, they're sliding back down to the middle. So you can run in any direction, and it's synced up to your goggles, which the Oculus Rift, and so you can actually have a really immersive, like you're running around in a completely 3-dimensional environment, and you can have complete autonomy. You connect some sort of like weapon or something, and you've got yourself a really immersive online game. And I promise you that this is happening in the very near future. We're talking less than 5 years, and you're going to be seeing people that are going to be, in 5 years, you're going to look at this talk and be like, oh my gosh, like, it's so outdated. So there's a lot of help. I just want to check on my time here, because, okay, we're done, we're good. This is really recent news. There's a contact lens that Google's been developing where it measures the glucose levels in your blood for people with diabetes, etc. It wirelessly transmits. I think you get the idea. The point being that there's also health-related things that people have had actually for decades now. There are a lot of heart monitors, etc. This is the same thing, but it's a more patch version. I think this was first developed in 2012. You can learn more about that if you want to look. I'll make sure that all this is available afterwards. Okay, so community accolades. So I want to sort of tie this back to information studies, which of course is my field. You've seen these, like Nike, for example, has the Nike app. You put this little sensor in your shoe, or you buy this special shoes. A lot of that's a branding thing, but some of that can be considered, this is a really this promotes health in our society, right? We've got people who are using technologies to encourage themselves and each other to compare their times. You can see this is a watch that you can wear, connects in your phone, and and it sort of shows you, oh, you've already run 3 kilometers. Like yesterday you ran 4, so keep running, right? And so you can so you can connect this into to what I think is what's most important about these technologies, and that's a sense of a community of practice, right? So for those of you who don't know, a community of practice is just any group of people who's working together on a problem, an interest, etc. So this could be a book club or an online forum. And in this case, I think it's really, in here we have, sorry I'm jumping around because I don't have a ton of time. We've got, this is called Duolingo, which is a recent app that's also come out. It's made headlines for being a language learning program. And the idea is that you sort of go through different steps and you can get these accolades, right? You can get these achievements. There's a huge achievement push right now in video games in particular. I actually work at a video game company, and we're always talking about achievements, like how can we implement achievements. And we think that's really important because it's a way of progressing, and it's a way of showing off. It's a way of working together with your peers to accomplish something and really get that sense of like working towards, a community. So these are my real achievements in Left 4 Dead. It's just an example. And there's platforms now that you actually get the games on, and the game platform will sort of collect these all into a community hub, and then you can compete with each other, and it really drives both your business and your brand because you've got people that want to get that next achievement, but it also definitely provides a sense of community, as I said before. So I think we're just, we're almost at the end here. So this is just to tie it all back to, that dorky look that everybody is going to think every time there's a new technology, that Tequalizer. I'm not sure how much of a use that has, that shirt that is in when you're at the club and you've got, the beats are going on this person's shirt. I'm not sure something like that's going to take off in a very real way. Stuff that Hexagram's doing is being used to implement in, like video games, for example. They're doing lots of other wearable things, and I think I'm out of time. So, does anybody have any questions? I think I do have a couple minutes for questions. If anybody had any thoughts, maybe, about the future of wearable technologies?
How far away are we from the Matrix?
How far away so the question is, how far away are we from the Matrix? And I think that's a really good question, because right now everybody's sort of looking to the future of space and exploration, and I've had a lot of discussions with friends about, like, at what point do we tap into our brain and we don't need to sort of experience this. I think the better way of looking at that for the near future is going to be something like the Oculus Rift combined with the Kinect camera, which is, for those of you who don't know, Microsoft has the Kinect sensor, which it provides not just video, but also a depth for the computer to sort of analyze how far away you are from it. So what this allows you to do is to create an actual 3-dimensional representation of the space in the computer's environment. So when you add a couple of these together to sort of get all the angles, you can create a truly real-time, three-dimensional environment. And there's lots of examples of people who have sort of made these makeshift, ad hoc versions of that. But I'm betting that we're going to see a situation where you put on Oculus Rift, you sit down in maybe a chair that you have, and you set up 3 maybe of these types of cameras, or maybe there's one module, or maybe you just need one angle, or I don't know, who knows. And what you'll do is you'll be transmitting your 3-dimensional body and space into somebody else's Oculus Rift. So you could be hanging out. I mean, I could be doing this talk right now from my home if you were all wearing Oculus Rift and I had cameras, and then we could just project me here because you're wearing those goggles, right? So I think it depends on what you mean by the matrix. I think we're a little bit away from, you know, plugging in directly with wires, but I don't think it's far off to say that in the next few years we're going to see this type of system starting to become more accessible, especially when Oculus Rift is released. Not to push Oculus Rift too much, I'm not like affiliated with them or anything. I think maybe we have time for 1 or 2 more little thoughts or questions. Hey, back there.
What about the possibility with Google Glass, since the terms of service allows Google to record all the pictures you take or things you film, or even film without telling you?
Okay, so I would challenge. So the question is, what about Google Glass and this sort of the idea that they could sort of what I showed with Mr. Burns? They're watching all of his employees and they're viewing everything through these cameras. That's a really good point. I think as consumers, it's our responsibility to look at the terms of service, to see what these companies are doing, and to demand that, you know, we're getting services that we find to be within our comfort zone. And I realize that's not always possible because, you know, people don't read the terms of service, etc. But like, I would challenge the notion that Google is able to do that. We've seen time and again that they have, you know, I want to word this in a way that doesn't make you. Google cannot just take your content and use it for nefarious purposes. They can't just record you while you're wearing Google Glass. In fact, they don't, and their terms of service don't actually say that they can record you at any time using Google Glass. What they do say is that the things that you publish to their services can be, you know, it needs to be stored on their service. They need to have an agreement there with you as a consumer to say, hey, yeah, like we need to put your content somewhere, and part of that is, of course, monetization. And again, I think it's up to the consumer to sort of realize that, hey, what's this being used for? Right now, in information studies in particular, the most arguments that I have are in classes where we have class discussions on this subject of like, ooh, the corporations are taking all my data. Well, I would challenge everybody to look at those terms of service. Google, 2 years ago actually, redid their entire terms of use. All of their privacy agreements have been turned into one nice page. It's very human readable. Go check it out. Like, it's really not, like, just, I don't have any more to say than that because I don't really have a ton of time. I would love to have a further discussion on that in the future. But as you can tell, I've had a lot of discussions on that with people in classes. But I think it all comes down to the consumer. Like, if you are looking for things, we need to educate each other. We need to start looking at things rather than spreading this sort of idea that these companies can do all these things. I think it's better and more powerful if we see exactly what they're saying they're going to do and holding them to it, rather than just sort of going on this whole, ooh, that's scary, they can take my data and they can use it for whatever. So I hope that sort of maybe empowers you to go and look up all of these things. I'll make all of this available later on my website. Check me out, ajwest.ca. Yeah, I think we're out of time there. Thanks to everybody who joined us online. Thanks to the organizers.
Thank you, AJ. We're going to take about a 15-minute break and start up again at a quarter to 11. Help yourselves with coffee in the other room, the weapons in the other room.
Is that the one that they find to go to the video?
I wish there was time. I was about to go on some tangent. I better stop myself.
You did so well. Okay.
I did good at stopping myself with going on the tangents. I was like, this is a side conversation.
And it makes us want to go and find out more stuff, so it's great. Oh, look at that. Well, super. It's a good camera.
It worked out pretty well. I'm just going to stop streaming and recording.